Hey there, everybody. It's Pastor Jeff, and welcome to week 2 of Pastor's Pulse. It's my take on what's happening in our world today. Here I am at home, marking and beginning my 6th week of recovery from a recent heart attack. And good news is I'm alive and well, and everything that's needing to heal is healing up. Vital signs are all go, and I'm really excited about the future and what God has in store for me ahead. But I want to pause this week, a week of Thanksgiving, to talk about being thankful anyway. You know, I remember as a kid, one of our Thanksgiving traditions at my home, in my family, was that at the Thanksgiving meal, before we launched into the feast, that we'd go around the table and whoever was there would be asked to share something that they are thankful for. And I remember as a kid, maybe a younger kid, wanting to get straight to the ham and the sweet potatoes, would try and beg off, but and say, I really don't have anything to be thankful for, which of course my mom would prompt me saying, well, we all have something to be thankful for. And you know what? We do. 1 Thessalonians chapter 5, verse 18 says, always be joyful, never stop praying, and be thankful in all circumstances, for this is God's will for us in Christ Jesus. Yes, this might be one of those years it'd be a challenge to find something to be thankful for. 2020 has been quite a year, and I can't wait for it to be over. We've had, of course, COVID for most of the year. We've fought health crisis, financial hardship. There's been political turmoil through a good part of the year. And now we have an election that's, it's still in doubt and still in question for much of our nation. And now they tell us you can't have Thanksgiving and don't even think about Christmas. Well, even in the midst of all of that, I think there are reasons to be thankful anyway. And I think the reason we can be thankful in spite of one of the worst years we've ever experienced is actually Romans 8:28, where we're told that God works in all things at all times for the good of those who love him and who are called according to his purpose. And that's what I believe, even about this year, horrendous year, is that God is at work. And he's working it out for our good if we love him and if we're living out his purpose in our lives. And so I've put together a thankful anyway list this year and invite you to do the same. I've got 3 things on my list that I'm thankful for anyway, and at least 2 out of the 3 might surprise you. Let me start with number 1, which is I'm thankful for COVID. Yes, I said it. I'm not a heretic. But the one thing that COVID has done for me is help me learn to appreciate all the things that I've enjoyed for years that maybe took for granted. Simple things, everyday things. Being able to go anywhere I wanted, not to be worried about contracting any contagious or even potentially fatal disease. And so I've learned to appreciate all kinds of things. But specifically, I appreciate our freedom to worship. Our church has had its doors closed for about 7 months through the course of this year in total. We're back worshiping every week, and I'm so grateful for that. But I've learned to appreciate the fact, and maybe more than ever, taken for granted, the fact that we can gather on any given Sunday and a lot of other occasions throughout the week to worship and to pursue the journey of faith for each of us. I'm also incredibly grateful for a church family, the fellowship of the family of God. I think many of us have missed that as much as anything in this COVID year. we've been told to seclude and separate and social distance. May we never, ever again take for granted the fellowship and the family of God. And I think maybe one other thing, ironically, we've learned through COVID, and I'm grateful for, is we've learned actually who the real American heroes are. Our culture worships all kinds of glamorous stars, movie stars, music stars, sports celebrities. And what we've learned this year is, you know what, we can get along without all of them. But you know who we can't get along without? Doctors, nurses, medical professionals who put their lives on the line every day, and especially this year, have risked their lives, and some of them, frankly, have given their lives to care for the rest of us. But more than that, grocery store clerks and stockers who made sure that food was on the shelves and toilet paper as well when we needed it. And that stuff never got there until the truck drivers got in their trucks and drove and delivered. And restaurant waitresses and waiters who served us. So many everyday Americans who've proven themselves to be America's heroes. Yeah, I'm thankful for COVID anyway. Second thing I'm thankful for, ironically, is my heart attack. Yeah, you heard it right. I'm grateful to God that I've had a health episode, well, that's changed my life. Number one, I'm thankful that I survived it. As I look back that night when the chest pains settled in about midnight, and I debated foolishly for hours as to whether or not I'd respond to them, I'm so grateful that I did. And God preserved my life. I'm grateful for the medical team, for nurses and technicians and surgeons, dozens of them who cared for me over the course of 7 days. And of course, as I've mentioned before, check out last week's Pulse if you want to get the whole story, but I'm thankful for a surgeon who allowed God to use her hands to save my life. And I'm also incredibly grateful, forever grateful for the prayers and support of all my friends and our church family. For people who prayed for me, some of them who didn't even really know me that well, from not only here in Arizona, but across America and even places around the world, people were praying for me. And I do not take their prayers for granted, for God heard them and answered them. I'm especially grateful for my wife, my partner in life and in ministry, whose loving care has sustained me, and whose selfless servant's heart has done so many things for me that I can't do for myself right now. I'm forever grateful that God provided me a partner in life. And maybe more than all of that, I'm thankful for the fact that surgeon and medical team discovered the damage to my heart that had been done years ago, undiagnosed and untreated. The fact that I survived this heart attack allows me the chance to have a second chapter in my life, a second chance in my life, and I will be forever grateful for that. And so I'm thankful for COVID anyway. I'm thankful for a heart attack anyway. And thirdly, I'm thankful for America anyway. This has been a tough year for our nation with all the trouble and the turmoil. And yet, we are, by my book, the best place in the world to live. America is the greatest country in the world. And if you don't feel that way, you've got a lot of other options out there, but I'm staying here. In spite of all our faults, in spite of all of our flaws, in spite of all the turmoil and the trouble that seems looming on the horizon, I choose America, land that I love. I'll stand beside her and ask God to guide her through the night with the light from above. I'm grateful for America because we have rights in America. Freedom of speech, freedom of religion, the freedom to bear arms to protect those rights, which are God-given, not government-given. And I'm grateful for patriots across the country who love America and will fight to defend her and have for decades. In fact, it's a good place to launch into next week, where I'm going to address the topic, where is God? A lot of people have been praying for our nation through an election and through times of turmoil. And a lot of people are wondering, where is God in all of this? And where is hope for our future? I'm going to talk about that next week. But in the meantime, let me encourage you to put together your Thankful Anyway list. There's probably more than you imagine. And so with that, God bless, and I'll look forward to seeing you next week on Pastor's Pulse.